Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something that is just so incredibly human. I'm talking about the exhausting, universal pain of trying to control every single thing around us. Have you ever actually noticed this paradox? The harder we grip our circumstances or our careers or our relationships, the more powerless we actually start to feel. It's a completely relatable struggle, and today, we are going to map out exactly how to break free from it. So, why exactly does more control equal more powerlessness? Well, right off the bat, we've got to validate that manipulating outcomes, that's a totally natural human tendency. We are constantly trying to bend people and events, like micromanaging a partner's daily habits or trying to dictate exactly how a coworker does their job, just so they fit perfectly into our own personal expectations. But trying to play the architect of the universe 24/7, that is exactly what causes our absolute deepest suffering. By trying to control everything, we end up literally suffocating our own happiness. All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the paradox of control, move into the ancient roots of equanimity, explore modern psychological therapy, dive into some real-world scientific evidence, and finish up with the modern art of letting go. Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the paradox of control, and the sheer illusion of manipulating outcomes. Moving right along to Section 2, the ancient roots of equanimity, specifically the Buddhist foundation of letting go. Now, way back in ancient Buddhist texts, this ultimate state of equanimity is called upekkha. And listen, there is a massive misconception we need to clear up right now. People constantly think letting go means giving up, right? Being apathetic or just tossing away our responsibilities. But that is completely wrong. Upekkha is actually the highest state of mental balance. It's the active release of negative attachments, greed, and anger. You aren't running away from your life. You are maintaining a calm, centered mind so you can face reality with ultimate peace. Ancient philosophy points to what they call the 8 worldly winds that just constantly blow through our lives. We're talking gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, sorrow and joy. These are inevitable forces. You literally cannot stop the wind from blowing. But equanimity acts as this invisible armor. It protects our minds from being endlessly battered, tossed around, and totally destabilized by these constant changes. It's what keeps you standing tall right in the center of the storm. All right, Section 3, modern psychological therapy, how we actually translate this ancient philosophy into real clinical practice today. In modern clinical practice, we look at something called ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Now, think of psychological inflexibility like being stuck knee-deep in thick mud. The more you thrash around and violently resist negative experiences, the deeper you sink into toxic thoughts, basically driving your mental stress right through the roof. The absolute root of our suffering is this stubborn resistance. But on the flip side, we have psychological flexibility. This is where true mental freedom actually lives. It's the ability to actively accept your current reality, unhook yourself from those toxic thoughts, and commit to actions that actually serve you. You stop wrestling the mud and you just step right out of it. Which brings us to Section 4, real-world scientific evidence, proving the undeniable power of acceptance. So, does this actually work in the real world? Well, a recent massive psychological study out of Vietnam gives us a really clear answer. They surveyed over 1,400 individuals, and what's absolutely amazing about this study is the scale. Participants ranged from 17 all the way to 76 years old. This gives us an incredibly objective, sweeping view of how acceptance impacts people across literally every single stage of life. And guess what? The data provided undeniable proof that as a person's level of acceptance goes up, their depression, anxiety, and stress take a massive nosedive. And the data showed us exactly where this matters the absolute most. They found the strongest positive impacts in some of the most pressure cooker professions on Earth. Doctors and medical staff, they saw decreased depression. Business leaders saw decreased anxiety. Military personnel saw decreased stress. So the crucial takeaway here is that for these high-stress groups, letting go is no longer just nice spiritual advice. It has fundamentally become a core survival tool to keep them standing when the pressure is at its absolute peak. Okay, moving to Section 5, the modern art of letting go. Let's look at some actionable frameworks for daily survival. Here is a super simple, actionable cheat sheet for your daily life. The ABCDS framework. A. Allow others to be exactly who they are. B. Be yourself. C. Accept that certainty is a total myth. D. Don't force outcomes. And S. Solutions will naturally appear.
Think of this as your gentle, everyday reminder to stop micromanaging the universe. When you stop trying to strangle the outcome, natural solutions actually have the breathing room to emerge and show themselves.
But, how do you actually spot when it's time to break out that framework? Well, here are your everyday warning bells. If you find yourself facing constant frustration in dating, or you're sinking deep into codependent relationships, endlessly overanalyzing every tiny thing your coworkers might be thinking, or just feeling chronically trapped in a poor me victim mentality, listen, these are huge red flags. When these alarms start going off, it is time to practice separation. Now, there is a really vital distinction between two different approaches to separation here. On one side, we have the law of letting go. This is about finding the sheer strength to walk away completely, decisively cutting ties with truly toxic relationships. But on the other side is something slightly more nuanced. Mel Robbins' viral Let Them theory. This is for when you are staying in the relationship, but you are entirely dropping the exhausting burden of acting like a patrol cop. You stay, but you stop monitoring, judging, and trying to control every single choice the other person makes. To actually apply this in your real life, you have got to be fiercely consistent. Stop analyzing the hidden motives behind their actions. Set personal boundaries that are basically a fortress. And honestly, etch this into your brain right now. Their problems are not your problems to fix. Sometimes the most profound, impactful act of love you can ever offer someone is simply stepping back, letting them fall, letting them stumble so they can finally learn their own life lessons. There's this incredible quote from Deepak Chopra that just perfectly captures the whole shebang of what we've explored today. He says, to acquire anything in the physical universe, you have to relinquish your attachment to it. Sounds completely backwards, right? But that is the ultimate paradox of letting go. It's literally only when we finally give up our frantic obsession with a pre-programmed outcome that we lay our hands on true control and experience genuine, lasting peace. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a challenge. What is that heavy expectation or that toxic attachment that is just quietly draining your mental energy every single day? Identify it. Now visualize the profound relief you would feel if you just dropped that heavy burden right here, right now. I really hope this analysis has opened up a peaceful new perspective for you. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.